Welcome to Brevard News, your home for real news in Brevard County. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator, and I am joined by the District 1 County Commissioner Katie Delaney. And our topics that we're going to try to cover for this week is the Firefighter workshop coming up, and I think that's on the 30th of this month, the state delegation that is also coming up, and also the septic to sewer. And I don't know if you've heard about that, but there is a mandate on changing your septic to sewer, and you want to know about that. The Right to Clean Water Amendment is on appeal. Also, we'll look at kudos for the week, and we won't forget about our friend John Tobias. He's in the news again, and we'll talk about that. That brings us to our quote for the week, and it's an interesting thing when you look at the quote for the week. Now, this comes from former Senator from Wyoming, Malcolm Wallop. Now, notice what he says, and this is very interesting to understand. And we continue to talk about local government and government. Government is running amok today, and he says it, and he says it well in this quote. Today, government touches everything in America and harms almost everything it touches. Federal, state, and local governments together spend 42 out of every $100 we earn. Those who are doing the taxing and spending have long ceased to work for the people as a whole. Rather, they work for themselves and for their clients, the education industry, the welfare culture, the employee unions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so here's the problem is that, and we're going to see it with former President Ronald Reagan later on, the bigger the government, the less your freedoms. And that's a fact, and you can count on that. And so that brings us to our episode of this week and the topics for this week. And we wanted to talk about, there's a couple of things going on in the county, and you have the firefighters workshop coming up and also the state delegation. Let's start with the firefighters workshop. And so this firefighters workshop is designed to get public input as well as government input as to how to actually solve the issue with the firefighters and their shortcoming. And it's really a critical point that we're at now, right?
Absolutely. And I actually had a meeting the other day with our internal auditors, and it was shocking for me. They brought the 2022 firefighter, fire department audit. And the shocking thing for me was that there was a chart in there that showed that the auditors said that we are going to have a major shortage of firefighters by 2024. So that was really shocking for me that the commission knew this in 2022. And unfortunately, we lost more people than what the audit predicted.
So they were anticipating that this was going to happen. Was it because of the fact that they anticipated not negotiating with the firefighters? Or did they look at what was going to happen as far as the dynamics? How did they know that this was going to happen? And why did they do nothing about it?
Right. I think it was a couple of things. It was the retirements that were eligible at this
Okay.
point. Because in 1998, 1999, we had a huge hiring event because of the fires that went on during that time. And so those people now are eligible for retirement. And in addition to that, it was just the issues that we're dealing with today. They were there 2 years ago, and so they saw those things. So that was pretty shocking to me to see that the commission was almost warned that this was going to happen, and it was considerably worse than what the auditor said it was going to be. And it was still showing a pretty grim picture then. And so we really need input from the public. We need to know what are people willing to live without, what are they willing to pay for a safe community. And so I really hope that people come out January 30th at 1 o'clock, between 1 and 5. We have a hard stop time at 5 o'clock. And please tell us your public input. If you can't make it, please contact the commissioners. All of our emails are the same except for what district we're in. So mine is d1.commissioner@brevardfl.gov. And all of our emails are the same except for that that district in the beginning of the email. So if you can't make it to the workshop, please contact our offices so that we can get your input.
So you don't think that this is a problem until it is a problem. So you look at the fires in Los Angeles here this past weekend. There was some cuts that had been made prior
$17
to that,
million. dollars.
right? And that was like last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've had problems with fires in Brevard County and in the state of Florida, and you just don't realize we've been really thankful that we have not had our firefighter union stretched, or the Brevard County Fire and Rescue stretched beyond the capacity. But if
Right.
an event like that happened, I mean, who knows, right?
Absolutely. I remember when I was in high school in the 2000s, and I know that's funny for some people to hear, but when I was in high
Back in
school,
my day.
I remember going to school and those fires were going on in the mid 2000s, and um, it was so bad you couldn't even see 5 feet in front of your vehicle. The smoke was so bad they shut down 95. It was horrible, and we haven't had fires like that in a really long time, and it, these things happen in cycles, and so unfortunately we're kind of due for. I mean, we pray to God that we're going to have mild weather and all that good stuff, but it's these things happen, and I want to make sure that Brevard County is prepared.
And it makes a huge difference, and you can see that they weren't prepared. And one of the problems with fire in California is they were not prepared. That and
Right.
the depth of what happened there, and it's a disaster. The state delegation, tell us about what that is and what's going on.
Sure. So the state delegation is our state reps and our state senators. Our Brevard delegation is what they're called as a group. They are going to come to Cocoa City Hall, and that address is 65 Stone Street in Cocoa. It's right in the middle of downtown, or Cocoa Village. And that's on the 29th of January at 3:30. And basically what this is all about is it's a time where we can speak to all of them as a group. You get 3 minutes and you can speak to them about issues that you think that the state needs to update. Maybe there's a new law, or maybe there's something you'd like repealed, or
Like
maybe there's
Live Local Act, maybe?
right,
Okay.
exactly. So that's your time that you can come and speak in public on the record to the entire group, and that's a pretty cool thing. Um,
So now, how did this begin? Is this something that they initiated? Is it something that's required?
I don't know if it's required. I think it may be, but they do it every year.
Mhm.
And they come before committee weeks. So the way Tallahassee works is that the meat and potatoes happens during committee weeks. So the building of bills, amending of bills, that kind of thing, it really happens during committee weeks. And so speaking to the delegation before that time is really crucial, because then it's more likely that your issue will have movement during this year's session.
So are they really listening though, Katie? I mean, if I come and I speak before them, are they going to give me a hearing, or are they just watching and reading their newspaper for the day and just not paying attention to what people are saying?
We really do have a great state delegation in Brevard County. But I will say they get bombarded by special interest groups, by citizens, by all sorts of people, and they only have so much time and really bandwidth. And so, one of the things that I've found that helped my issues come forward was that I would email them, I would call them, I would have regular communication with them. And so the delegation meeting was just one piece of that. And then I would always follow up. I've actually been to Tallahassee a couple of times during committee weeks to go and meet with them and other state representatives, so that I could get more support for whatever my issue was. And if you want something done, you really have to do the legwork, unfortunately.
So is it true that the squeaky wheel gets the oil?
Absolutely.
So the first thing is to be able to show up at the state delegation and
Right.
make whatever complaint known.
Exactly.
And from there, then follow up with that
Right.
in Tallahassee itself.
And you don't necessarily have to go to Tallahassee, but just getting into communication with your state representative. And just because it's not your state representative necessarily, I would communicate with all of them because they really are there to represent, all of Brevard.
And this is July, I'm sorry, not July, this is January 29th
At 3:30.
at 3:30 in Cocoa at
Cocoa
the
City Hall.
Cocoa City Hall.
65 Stone Street.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. Now, once again, we come back and look at this septic to sewer, and it's a mandate, and that's what I call it, is a mandate that comes down from the state. And again, we've got real problems. Your officials are not thinking about what's best for you. You have the Live Local Act, which is really going to be a problem for people in this area. Also, now you have this septic to sewer, and what it does require, and this was passed during the 23 legislative session, and it requires that all new septic tanks on all lot sizes installed within this area, and it's talking about the Indian River Lagoon Protection Program, which includes Volusia, Brevard, Indian River, and St. Lucie counties, that by July 1st, 2030, any commercial or residential property with an existing septic tank located within this area must connect to central sewer or upgrade to an advanced sewer system. And you're talking about lots of money. I mean, I know that when we lived in Port St. John, there was the potential of, they were talking about connecting to sewer with this, I think it was $12,000, $15,000. And I think it's much higher than that now.
It's probably doubled since then.
So my question is, why would the state legislature mandate that this happen? And it's interesting, they are actually seem to be more concerned about the individual citizens than they are the people that are actually polluting the river. I don't get this. We talked about last week Debbie Mayfield's amendment that allows for polluters, but then you come back on the backside and you mandate this on individual residents who can't afford this. Am I wrong about this?
I understand the heart behind this, that, they don't want the nutrients from the septic tanks to go into the river. I totally understand that. But to mandate an individual, I think that it is so wrong. It's one thing if you have, say, a seriously busted septic tank and it's just flowing.
Oozing, right, into the river,
That's one
right.
thing. But this, if you have a functioning septic tank, there have been septic tanks here for a very long time, and we haven't had these issues like this. And my frustration is that we are not talking about the true source. The true source is the millions of gallons
Correct.
coming from the sewage spills.
Correct.
And not properly maintaining the, sewage.
But they're trying to give the illusion that it's the individual septic tanks along the river
Right.
that is causing the problem. Again, ignoring the polluters who are dumping sewage into the river ad nauseum.
Right.
But it's the little guy that's going to have to pay for this,
Right.
to make it look like that there is something actually being done when there's not.
One thing about me is I really hate feel-good politics.
Yes.
I want us to be passing things that are actually functionally helping our society and not just making everybody feel good. And so if it's not, I want them to pass a real thing, not whatever this is.
So they'll do a dance about this and say that we're doing things to help the water, but in reality they're not. The cost is going to be passed on to the citizens. Now, it does say the Department of Environmental Protection recommends that individual homeowners and businesses contact their local governments for specific septic upgrade incentive programs to assist with upgrades to enhance nitrogen reducing systems or septic to sewer conversions. So So this is why Reagan said that big government is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger it gets, the less freedom you have. They just keep coming up with more and more stuff. And now you have the little guy having to pay and carry the cost of this. So even with this, I mean, now I've heard that there are programs available. Have you heard anything about that? To be able to defer the costs?
So the Save Our the Sorrel tax, there is some money that's going to residents to helping them uh, go from septic to sewer, but unfortunately those funds they run out, and so not every resident is going to get the help, and
So it's
that's
like musical chairs wherever the
right.
music stops. So
That's just it.
you're in
Yep.
trouble.
And so for me, I'm like, okay, if the government is going to force you to do something, well, then they better pay for it.
Well, you would think. I mean, the average person, and I guess maybe if you're living along the river, there's a presumption that you are of well means, you have means, right? And if you have a house, but not everybody that lives on the river are of means.
Right.
So and then you have a lot of things that happen with taxes and so forth. I just think this is really crazy. But then we have the issue of the Clean Water Amendment that was passed and the appeals process that was went against the Speak Up Titusville, and so they are appealing the motion for rehearing. And so the appealee, Speak Up Titusville, pursuant to the Florida Rule of Appellate Procedure 9330, moves for hearing and rehearing and certification of the court's December 26, 2024 opinion. Now, they give several reasons why, and I think that we talked about this. The court really didn't deal with the issues, and this is why they're appealing it. And this appeal is going to a different appeals court, and I don't have that right now in front of me. But several things they're saying is that the court overlooked or misapprehended the nature of the charter amendment provision granting residents the ability to bring an action in the name of the waters of Titusville. They also say that the court overlooked the charter amendment provision granting residents the ability to bring an action in the name of waters of Titusville is severable from the primary provisions of the charter amendment. And so there's some question about this. And one of the real issues is the damages and who will pay for it. And that's what the appellate court seemed to be concerned about, right?
Mm.
And so they were concerned about that. And so they didn't really deal with the merits of the case. And so there's an appeal on the merits of the case, and we'll see how that goes. And so that was appealed this week, and we'll see if the next appellate court, which is the Fifth District Court of Appeal in Florida, does something to actually judge in the favor of the people of the city of Titusville. And so that brings us also to another interesting thing, and this is about John Tobiah. John Tobiah is in the news again, and it seems like Mr. Tobiah has been put out of EMT school over in Orange County for reasons that, he reportedly says that he received a negative evaluation from one of the staff members, and that caused some problems for him. And so for those of you who are happy with the fact that he's not going to get another chance to live on the government dole, you can be thankful for that right now. It looks like John Tobiah is not going to be an EMT, and there are some problems that came up with him. That brings us to the salaries of the city of Titusville. What you have here in Titusville is a bureaucracy. And you say, no, Kevin, we don't have a bureaucracy. Well, I have some information here in my little fingers from a government agency that reports government salaries all over the country. And I just happened to run across some information about government salaries in the city of Titusville. Now, when you listen to what is said here, this is a report, and this is just from 2023. But listen to how much money these people are making, and you'll understand why they do what they do to protect their investment. So here we have the city manager, William Larice. He's probably making much more than this now, but as of 2023, he was making $229,429. And notice that this is the thing that I wanted to point out. This salary was 343% higher than the average and 342% higher than the median salary in the city of Titusville. So in the city of Titusville, you have, as of 2023, you had 647 employees. The average salary of these employees was $51,749. The median annual wage was $50,714. So you have Mr. Larice making 343% higher. Now we know this is much higher than that because he received another raise in 2023 and also, and we don't know about 2024. They're hiding it from us. All of a sudden it disappeared off the docket, so we don't know. But listen to this. Now let's go to Mr. Abate, who is the assistant manager, I think he is. Now Thomas Abate is making, as of 2023, $164,002, according to the public records. This salary was 217% higher than the average and 223% higher than the median salary in the city of Titusville. Well, there's more. Richard Broom, and I think that he's the city attorney. Now, he was paid in 2023, $202,381. This salary was 291% higher than the average and 299% higher than the median salary in the city of Titusville. And there's more where that came from. Well, let's not forget Mr. Parrish before we stop. He made an annual salary of $134,483, 160% higher than the average and 165% higher than the median salary. And oh, I forgot one other thing. We forgot the police chief, John Lau. In 2023, he made $154,211. This salary was 198% higher than the average and 204% higher than the median salary in the city of Titusville. So you want to know why the city makes the decisions they do? Why they continue to raise taxes? Why they are doing the things that they're doing? They're protecting their own interests. And as Reagan said, at some point, it's not about the citizens anymore. It's about their bureaucracy and protecting their investment. And now our kudos of the week. Kudos to the Florida Republican Assembly, who filed a lawsuit against Evan Powers, the leader of the Republican Party of Florida, for attempting to purge the party of conservative Republicans. Kudos to you, FRA. Also, kudos, and we haven't forgotten you, Coco. We neglected to remember and to give you kudos for your third straight state championship that you won on December the 12th. Kudos to the Coco Tigers for their third straight football championship, Class 2A. Kudos to the Tigers. And that brings us to my 2 cents. Former President Ronald Reagan was fond of emphasizing the dangers of bloated government like the ones we face throughout Brevard County. Reagan stated this. He said, "I hope we once again have reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited. There is a clear cause and effect here, and that is neat and predictable as the law of physics. As government expands, liberty contracts." Now think about what he said. As government expands, liberty contracts. The dangers of big government in our area has become more and more obvious in recent years. From the attempt by many municipalities to enact COVID mandates, to the overregulation, to the Live Local Act, to the overdevelopment throughout the county, to the election interference by local government and the state's attorney's office, and to the crony capitalism evident in local government. The evidence is complete that government is too big. As the former president also noted, you can't be for big government, big taxes, and big bureaucracy and still be for the little guy. This is so true. Our politicians throughout Brevard County are oblivious to this. Now, you, the people of North Brevard, you elected my co-host, Katie Delaney, to be the county commissioner in District 1 because you are tired of government trying to control your lives. Yet, as we stand today, it doesn't seem as if they have gotten the message. The city officials of Titusville, for example, are still raising taxes, and they still probably will raise them again. And the regulations in this city, you ever tried to start a small business? The regulations are unbelievable. They have made it cost inefficient for anyone to start a small business. It's very difficult to do. The 2026 elections can't get here quick enough so that we can get out of office more of these tyrants who are only ingratiating themselves at the expense of the people of this great county. And that's my 2 cents.